Welcome to Black Gumbo. Today I'm going to up pot some figs. Alright, well, my wife went over to Costco and found these fantastic containers. They're huge. They look like they're about, I don't know, 15 or 20 gallon containers, and they're perfect for my fig trees. I've been needing to up pot some of these. They're suffering. I can tell they're suffering. They're stressed out. Some of the leaves are turning yellow and it's just spring. So there's some of them that are ready to go into these pots. Now I should have root pruned them this spring as well. You can do some root pruning. I'll show you that next year. I won't be forgetting to do it next year. But one way you can take these fig trees that are stressed out in a pot that's too small for them and help them is up pot them and put them in a larger pot. So I'm going to do that today. It gives you a little drilling guide on the back for drainage holes. I'm not going to drill there. I'm going to drill in the side. Actually, I'm going to drill in this handy little indentation here. There you go. You see those holes down in there? You want good drainage with figs, so I put a lot of holes in there. But because it's up off the bottom and not down here, it's up, that raises those holes up. I get a 2-inch reservoir in there. The reservoir is important around here because in the summer I'm watering those figs every single day, and by the end of the day they look sad. So this will help keep some of the water down in the pot and it won't dry out as quick, and that's what I'm after. So I'm going to put some hardwood mulch down on the bottom. That will help to keep my soil intact and it won't be filtering out through all those holes. But also figs like a real loose and a coarse soil, and so having a little mulch in there just is an added bonus. Alright, so you can see this fig plant got some yellowing leaves, not doing so well. That's because all the soil that was originally down in that pot has been displaced, I believe, by roots, and when I pull this out of there you'll see what I mean. It's actually pretty light, which means there's not a lot of soil in there holding moisture. So we're going to put that guy in that pot. This is actually one of my favorite figs, a Ronde de Bordeaux that I grew from a cutting. And this has been one of my favorite, most successful figs. And I am going to probably plant it at an angle and keep a single trunk here and take this one off. So I'm going to use my potting soil. I don't have all the stuff I'd like to have. I'd like to have some pine bark nuggets, the really fine small ones, to mix in there, but I don't have it. All I have is some perlite, and that's just going to have to be good enough. So I'll give this a mix of potting soil and perlite, and we'll plant this fig up, and that's going to be just fine for these figs. I mean, all the guys on the fig forums and the fig Facebook groups that I belong to, everyone's got their mix and their preferred way of potting these plants. But if you don't have all that stuff, it's okay. Figs are very forgiving. Now, take a look at this fig in this bucket. So take a look at this root ball. We have roots all the way around, circling the whole bottom. We have roots down there really dense, but we got a nice earthworm there. All right, we want that fella. If it was fall, I'd come in here and cut some of these roots and take some of these roots and break them up. All right, so these trees need a lot of moisture, and I'm gonna put some mulch on here. And the mulch really helps keep the weeds down in these long-term containers, and it helps the water not to evaporate as quickly. So that mulch combined with our reservoir down at the bottom ought to help this plant. And come summer we should have a nice healthy fig tree. See here how the roots work. You start circling, looking for water, going around and around in this pot. So that pot's too small. This is a Latarula, also called an Italian honey fig. And you can see this one grows in kind of a bushy shape, a bushy pattern. Sometimes these fig trees can be grown as bushes like this, where they grow up all crazy, no main trunk. Or you can prune all this stuff up and just grow your strongest trunk and orient it straight up and down, kind of like this one here. This one has been pruned to grow straight up. This is a Smith, and we're going to pot that one too because it's looking a little stressed. That's a tiny little pot down there. We're going to put it in this one. So Latarula has vacated these premises. Smith's going to move in. The Smith fig has been growing for me from a cutting, and I've been training it up. It's always been kind of tall, and it's been stuck to this support stick for 2 years now. So I finally think it's strong enough to stand on its own. So we're going to go in and let it stand on its own. That's a happy moment. Now let me show you something about figs. So you see, I've grown this fig to be pretty straight, and along it we've got some buds coming out that want to branch off. Now I like a tidy fig tree. I'm going to probably trim that off and let it branch out up here. I want to keep it tidy down at the base. I have a hunch this is one of the ones I'm going to end up keeping. But what you can do in the spring, right about now, if you want to force branching along that, is to pinch these buds. Pinching the buds, I did this a couple years ago on this one, and that's why there's so many little branches in there. You can see that this thing is branching out nicely near the top. If you pinch these growing buds off, the plant will self-heal. The milky sap will seal it over, and it will direct more of its energy down to growing side growth. This fig tree was forced to branch out like that by pinching. Pinching has shaped this tree into a really good and productive tree. Let me show you. So when I pinched, this is a good example. This branch coming up here had a grow bud right here. And I pinched it at some point along here, but that's what causes this this major branch right here. And so all along in this fig tree, I've got these stems coming up from the bottom that all of a sudden they branch out and they cascade out. There's a good example. They come up straight. They were a long straight stem. I pinched it and forced them to cascade out into this, I guess cascade is not the word, but to flare out into this big branch filled with fruiting and production branches. Got to clean up the base down there, but yeah, this has been a very productive fig tree. Look at all these figlets. This is a white cadota. This is the variety that was used commercially in this area. Friendswood and Pearland, Texas are traditional fruit production areas back at the turn of the century, late 1800s, early 1900s, all through about the 40s and 50s. And we had fig packing facilities and all kinds of neat things going on. And this was one of the varieties that was grown here, so I had to have a local variety. And hopefully it'll do good. This is the first year I've had fruit from it. So yeah, it's got a nice big pot now. It ought to do just fine. I'm real excited about this one. I really like this particular tree. Yeah. Those little dead parts there. I don't know why those are there. And you need to go away too, because I want that trunk to beef up, and I want all the growth to be above this this node, this V here. This fig happens to be my favorite, Ronde de Bordeaux, and I know I'm butchering that. This poor little plant is so stressed out, but it will come back. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that. Ronde de Bordeaux. See, I took Spanish in high school, and I could pronounce that in Spanish. I can even trick the taco truck lady to think I'm a native speaker. But French, I just sound like a typical American. But I have a French friend, so I'm gonna ask Karen.
Hello, Scott. This is Karen in France, and the fig that you are talking about is called the Ronde de Bordeaux. Ronde de Bordeaux.
All right, so that's how you pronounce it. All right, thank you, Karen. It's good to hear from you. Hope everything's going well for you over there. So now I know I'm not going to try to embarrass myself by saying it. But now I know I can practice. These poor leaves up here, they need to come off, but they're still a little taut, so that tells me they're not really ready to come off. They might perk up. But these that are yellow like that just come off real quickly, go ahead and pull those off. New home for the little ones. They're stressed out. These are really stressed. These look terrible in their tiny little pots, but we've got them some fresh soil and they should perk up real quick. These little guys were stressed out in their tiny little pots. I put them in 3-gallon grow bags. Oh no, there's another French word. I'm not even going to try. But this is a nice little fig. I've had this type of fig before. I really like it. But yeah, they grow quite nicely once you get them in a pot that's suitable. So I've potted up my figs. There's a little update about my figs. I've got about 25 to 30 varieties. I lost count. About 35 different plants or bushes or trees, whatever you want to call them. And I had to pot them up today, at least some of them. I'm actually out of some of the supplies that I need. I need some more potting soil, some more perlite, and some more mulch. And so I've got to go get that to finish the job. But I've put about 10 plants in bigger pots today, and that gives them room to spread around, gives them some fresh, refreshed soil to feed from. We're going to get some good heavy rain tomorrow, so that'll water them in really well over the night. We'll come check on them tomorrow. And yeah, figs, man, they're really fun to grow. They're easy to grow, and they grow in just about anything. Of course, if you take some care, you tend to them and trim them and guide them and give them something good to grow in, they'll really reward you. I've got some eager figs this year. Thanks for joining me on Black Gumbo. Glad you stopped by. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so, and like us on Instagram and Facebook. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.